Welcome to today's show. We're launching Totally Tiffany today, our brand new range in a brand new format.
Absolutely, and I'll go into a bit more depth later on as to exactly what that new change or the new format is. But all these beautiful samples that you can see on the table in front of us have been created by our design team using only the CD that's included in the collection. If you want to see the cards in a bit more detail and a bit more close-up, then please do visit our website gallery where you can see every single card that you see on the table and a few more in a lot more detail. So shall we get on and have a play with the CD?
Oh, I think so.
So we'll take a closer look at the actual folder that you get when you purchase the Totally Tiffany CD-ROM collection. So this is what you get. It's an A4 folder, front and back. You see it also has the holes punched down the side so that you can put this into a ring binder. So we know that the CD cases normally take up a lot of room on your shelf, so you've now got the pre-punched holes that you can pop this into a folder or a file and keep it on your shelf. It's not going to take up as much room, so we know that ladies are running out of room on the shelves, or ladies and gentlemen are running out of room on the shelves. So we've designed this one so that it can just be easily filed away into a folder and then safely secured. Now on the inside, you open it up, on the inside front cover you have some samples or photographs of cards that we've already, or projects that we've already made from the CD, so you can see exactly what you can do with it. So on this side you have a little plastic wallet, and tucked inside there you've got 10 sheets of this fantastic what we call the deluxe vellum. Now let me just pop this to one side for a second just so I can show you that vellum a little bit closer. So as you can see, you can see through it. Let me just see if I can grab something that I can put behind it so you can see. So it is translucent, you can see through it. But one of the things that you can do with this vellum is you can print on it. So it's inkjet compatible, it's laser compatible. You can also, I've got a little piece here, you can emboss it too. So this is a piece that I embossed a bit earlier just using an embossing folder. Now again, let me see if I can get a piece of darker card so you can see what that looks like. Now when you emboss it with your embossing folders, the embossed pattern changes to white. So it does really stand out. How beautiful is that? And to add the texture to your card, it's absolutely unbelievable. And we do believe that you can also use it for parchment too. So we have given some of this to some ladies for us to test, and they're currently working on it, and they don't seem to be having any problems using it for parchment too. So you get 10 sheets of this lovely vellum, this deluxe vellum, in with the CD. I'll just open that back up again and take the vellum out. And once you've run out the vellum, if you want some more, it is available in packs of 10 from our website, the deluxe vellum. So you can purchase more, and then there you go. You have your CD in a nice little protective plastic wallet in the back, so that you've always got a safe place to keep it once you're finished with it. And with it being soft plastic as well, then the chances of you scratching it are very, very slim. So there you go. So that's the new format for the Collector's Series CDs. So this is the first card that we're going to do today. As you can see, this one's done on craft card, and I've just used the Pansy set from the CD. Now this is a pyramid topper. As you can see, it's got all the different multi-dimensional layers on there, and the sentiment reads, "Hope you're feeling better today." So that's one of the sentiments on the kit. Obviously there is a choice, which you'll see in a moment. So this is what we're going to do next. So I will go ahead and get the stuff printed out, ready to show you. So I've gone ahead and printed the sheets out for this first card. So what I'm going to do now, this is just a quick look on the actual sheets themselves. So you have your main topper, You have your pyramid toppers, which are down here. You have your choice of sentiments. You have your little, what we call little buttons, which are the same size as a 3/8 circle punch. I just can't see mine right this very second, but I will show you it in a sec. And you have a few other little embellishments that you can add, envelope seals, that kind of thing, little gift tags. But you've also got a main backing panel here, but you've also got a panel that can be used for making an easel card from this very same set. So just from this one set, you can create a standard 6x6, or you can create an easel card just by utilising the two panels rather than just the one to make your card. So, or you could use this as an insert piece for your 6x6 card. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out all the bits that I'm going to need. So I'm going to cut out my panel, my sentiments, my pyramid toppers, and my backing pep, and I'm just going to make a standard 6x6, obviously, because that's what you've seen already. So I'm just going to recreate that. Okay, so I will be back in 2 minutes. So I've gone ahead and printed out all of my elements and cut them out all out. I'm going to go around the edges of all of my pyramid layers. Now I've chosen, on this one I've chosen peeled paint and dusty concord, because that's purple and green. So I'm going to use the green to go around the edges of my pyramid toppers, and I'm going to use the dusty concord to go around the edges of my main topper, just to hide any unsightly lines there. And on the base one, I'm just going to use walnut stain, or he says just reaching into his pot, pulling out a random brown frayed burlap, which I think will probably work just as well. So I'm just going to use one of the distress markers just to go around and hide those unsightly edges if I've made a little mistake on my cutting out. Now I'm also going to use obviously the craft card base as well. So the craft card base is just a standard 6x6 and is available on the website. You can purchase them in packs of 10 with envelopes for £1.50. They're also available in cream and also in white as well, so they're there if you need them. So as for the sentiments, okay, so these are all the sentiments. Obviously I've not punched anything out yet. I'm going to use the same as before, which was the hope you're feeling better today. So for that I'm just going to use the Stampin' Up! Decorative label punch, and I'm just going to line that up as best I can on the camera so I can see what I'm doing, as well as so you can see what I'm doing. That's all lined up within there, and we're just going to punch that out. So that's the sentiments. Now for the little buttons, as I said about the 3/8 circle punch, this is a 3/8 circle punch which I purchased from, it's a Do-Craft one, an X-Cut palm punch, and I purchased this one from the range because you can't get them cheaper anywhere else, I found anyway. So that's the 3/8 circle punch, that's the X-Cut one, but this is also one that I purchased from Hobbycraft. Exactly the same size, exactly the same reach on it, does exactly the same job, which incidentally is the same size as the other card decorations you can purchase from other companies. So you could actually make your own coordinating embellishments to go on your cards without having to buy every colour under the sun. I've got a pair of scissors because I need a bit more reach on that one. And then just line that up and pop it out. There we go. So that's it. That's everything we need. I'll pop those punches to one side and I'll just put those little buttons. Now again, I'm going to go around the edges of those as well with the dusky concord, just to hide any unsightly corners. So there's all our bits already, so we're ready for construction. So I'm going to just whip around the edges. So I've got my brush, I've already done the large one. Oh sorry, that's the large one there. I've already done that one, so I'm just going to, I'll show you one if you've not seen it before, and then I'll just jump to the end where I've done the rest. So literally just colouring the white edges just to hide where you've cut. It just gives it a little bit more of a professional feel. Now to do this, as I always say, I'm right-handed, so I always hold my piece of card with the image facing over to the left. That way if I slip, it's going to go down the back. and not across the front of my image. So if you're left-handed, do it the other way. So that's it, pretty much. You just go around the edge and that will hide any unsightly cuts or nicks or anything. If you've made a slight mistake when you're cutting out, as we sometimes do, that will hide a multitude of sins. Now look at the difference. If I show you the white on that one and then the dark on there, look, it's completely hidden. You can't see it at all. So I'm going to finish these off and go around that one in the Dusky Concord and that one from my main panel. And that one is the frayed burlap. I'll be right back when I've finished all that. Okay, so I've gone around all the edges now, hiding all those white raw edges. And as with the card you saw at the beginning, I've cut out my purple mat. That's just going to go on underneath there. And then we're just going to stick those all together and lay that down. So pretty much it's just going to be an exercise in matting and layering now. So not a long job, a very, very simple and easy card to put together. So let's just go ahead, just using standard glue. So I'm just going to take my main mat. Now again, as I said before, this is just the basic card kit. So I'm just going to show you what you can do with very, very little embellishment. So the very basic one, just to start off with, and then as we go on, we'll get a little bit more complicated. Move that out of the way. So I'm just going to layer that on. Now, like I said before, a million times, I use or like to use wet glue because it gives you just that little bit extra wiggle room so that you can get your mats lined up nicely before the glue actually grabs. But it's down to you, your personal preference. You're making the card, not me. So then grab our craft card, and again, if you want to make it a tentfold card, then you can do. The choice is yours. I'm just going to lay that down onto the front of my card, making sure I've got an even gap all the way around. Looking good so far. And that purple edge just gives it that little bit more interest. So, and then we can then stick down our main topper. Now I've tried to work out whether there's a right way around for these, and to be honest I can't work out whether there is a right way around or a wrong way around. So I wouldn't worry too much about trying to get it the right way up, because the leaves come in from all different directions. I think I'm going to stick with that one there. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to stick it down flat because I don't want too much dimension on this. So I'm just going to go around the edge. And then we'll stick that down, and I'm going to go that way. Or am I? No, I'm going to go that way. Don't ask me why. I don't know. It's just the way it looks. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit for you. There we go. That's a bit better. You can see it a bit better, a bit closer up. So I'm just going to stick that down into the middle. Now that is a pretty nice card on its own. You don't have to add in all these extra layers if you don't want to. You could just put your sentiment on there and call it a day. But if that's what you want to do, that's entirely up to you. Obviously, if you're making these to sell and you're batch making them, then the quickest and easiest way for you to make the cards is obviously the best solution for you. But if you want to go, you know, and add all the layers and all that kind of stuff, then, you know, it's really, really down to you. So what I'm going to do now is just grab some foam pads, and I'm going to put those, just move that up there. I'm going to put one directly in the middle, and that will act as my pillar piece. And then I'm just going to put one in four corners, if there is such a thing as corners on a circle, or the four compass points then, if you like, and that will be my base. But the one in the middle will always act as a pillar point, and it will always provide that stability for you. Now again, at this point, it doesn't really make any difference which way you put your base layer down if you're going to cover it up like I'm doing, because you can always turn this round the right way when you come to do your card. So I'm just going to line up the edge of the circle, and then just gently, trying to get my head in shot, just drop it down over the top. Now, we said about the printable vellum before, there's nothing stopping you from printing these on acetate either. Printable acetate would work really, really well because you'd be able to see all the way through the layers. So that's another idea for you if you wanted to go that way. So again, I'm going to put exactly the same, one in the middle and then one in each of the 4 compass points, or at 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock. And then the middle one is the one that's always going to have that stability of the pads all the way through the layers. So even if you get these wrong, in a different position, that middle one will always be there. So for this one, again, I'm going to line that up with the edge of the card, and then just gently. Now I might have to get my head in a little bit here just so I can see. I'll try not to. There. That's our next layer. There we go. So our next layer is a little bit more important to get the line up right. So one in the middle and one at each of the 4 compass points. There we go. Bring that back into shot and let's see if we can get this lined up in the right place. So this is going to be quite, I think that's it there. Make sure we get the right orientation. Now I am probably going to have to get my head in shot for this one, but only slightly. I think that's it. There. Yeah, you can't really see if there's any jarring differences in that. So we've now got 3 layers on there. When you look straight down, you don't lose any of the image. So we've got our last layer, and again, this time I'm just going to put 1 in the middle, and I'm only going to put 3 on here because it's not quite as large a circle. So I'm actually going to just go and put it around those 3 points there. Again, off with the backs. Bring that back in, and then we'll try and align this up to where it should be, which I think is about there. Make sure the lines are all right. I think we're pretty much, I'm just sorry if I got my head in shot there a little bit. There. And there's our pyramid topper all lined up. Fantastic stuff. Right, so we're going to grab our sentiment, and I'm just going to pop a couple of foam pads up on there. In fact, I probably will only use the one on that side, and then I'm going to add a little bit of glue because I'm going to tuck it under. Just a little bit like that. And then stick that down just there. So now all we have to do is just to add 3 of those little buttons. Now for this I'm going to use some smaller foam pads, some 3mm foam pads. I'm just going to take my craft knife and just place 1 in the centre of each of those. And I'm putting them in on a diamond pattern because I know that's going to make it easier to position. Take the lid off and then grab my pickup stick. So I shouldn't turn them upside down, should I? And then I can literally just lift it up and bring it over and drop it straight down. there, and this one over the last one, like so. And you can add wink of Stella, you can add glossy accents to those if you wish to, but I'm not going to, obviously, because the other one didn't either. So there you go. So that's how I've recreated that card from the beginning of this segment. Okay, so for the next card that I'm going to show you how to create using the Totally Tiffany CD, you've seen how we created a standard 6x6 card just by using the main panel on those printed sheets. Now for this one, using exactly the same printed sheet, but I've chosen a different design this time, how you can create that easel card. So as you can see, we've created an easel card using all of the other elements on those sheets that are included. So just by printing the same sheet, you can create a different style card, but using exactly the same resources that you had for the previous one. So the differences between this one then is I've used pearls on those little buttons instead of actually using the buttons themselves. And I've added a little green mat around the inside panel and on the front panel, just to coordinate that colour in and give it a little bit of a border and frame. So, how did I do it? Well, carry on watching and you'll find out. So these are the sheets from the tulip set. And we're going to be using the main backing panel and the base paper mat for the easel card on this one. So as before, I'm going to go away and cut all these pieces out ready, and I have my pens ready to do my edges. So this time I'm using peel paint again for the green edge. I have, what's this, wild honey for the little buttons, and again I'm using frayed burlap for the brown around this one here. So let's get these things cut out and I'll be right back. So we've got everything we need now. I've gone ahead and let's just move these bits out of the way and I'll explain what they are in a second. So we've got our base piece for our easel card, we have our riser piece for our easel card, we have our main topper, we have our four pyramid topper layers, we have our sentiment that I've already gone ahead and punched out using the same punch as previously, and I've actually punched out this time the handmade by which is just on a standard 1-inch circle punch. So those are all the bits from the printed sheet. Now for our card base, I have a standard 6x6 card base. I don't want to ruin another card base to create my riser piece. So what I've done is I've gone through my stash and I've found a piece of watercolour card, which has got a little bit of texture to it, which I think is going to make it quite nice. So I've cut that at the same size as the card front. And I've also cut out 2 pieces of green cardstock from my stash, and I've cut these at 14.2 centimetres. Now don't panic. Now the reason I've done that is because the smaller panels that I'm going to mat these onto, that just gives you a little bit of a nice border all the way around without being too heavy. So literally I've just measured the size of that and then gone a couple of millimetres bigger. That's all I've done. So for that one that's going on the front, it will have a nice little green border all the way around it. And for the base layer, same thing again, just a little subtle green border all the way around. So you don't have to measure it to get it right. All you have to do is just lay this on top of your green card, making sure you've got an equal border all the way around, and then cut it to fit. You know, use one of those perfect layers if you've got one, but it's not complicated. So we've got everything we need to put the card together now, so let's go ahead and get started on doing that. So first of all, we need our card blank. Now because the easel card is a tent fold on the front, we'll need to score the front of our card. Now these cards are 15 centimetres by 15 centimetres, which is a very, very handy size because it means half of that's going to be straightforward 75 millimetres or 7.5 centimetres. So I'm just going to bring in my paper trimmer, which has also got a scoring tool on it, and I'm just going to push that under, measure it at 7.5 centimetres, and then I'm just going to score a line for folding all the way along, and then I'm just going to fold that over and just push that down. So that then creates our rising mechanism for our card. So you can burnish that if you want to. I'll just grab my bone folder and just give that a bit of a burnish. Make sure it's clean, I don't want to get it dirty, even though you're going to be covering it up. And that's going to create our rising mechanism for our easel card. Okay, so let's stick down the inside pieces first. So I'm going to stick that even, just going to stick it down with glue, with standard wet glue. So I'll just add a little bit. Don't need to go too mad. Let's decorate the inside of the card first. My glue tends to squeeze all over the place. And then just drop that down. And like I said, it gives you a little bit of wiggle room just to get it right. Make sure you've got an equal border all the way. So that's in. And then we'll just add the glue onto our main panel. Like so. Turn that around and then make sure that your panel here is facing the bottom or at the bottom, and then we just drop that down over the green and then just wiggle it until we're happy we've got the right placement for it. There. And that is the inside of our card almost decorated. Now we can close that. What we need to do now is to take our piece of watercolour card, our green and our stone effect card, and we need to layer those two. So I'm going to add some glue to the back of the green. Just a little bit of glue there. And do exactly the same thing that we did on the inside. So drop that over the top and make sure, just wiggle it until you're happy with you've got an equal border all the way around. Like so. And then take your final layer and then we can stick that down over the top of that. Now I'm just going to have a look at the inside to make sure that there's no particular way, no particular pattern for this, but there isn't particularly, but I'm going to move it that way. I'm going to drop that down right in the middle of the green. Now the green just adds that little bit of a frame, a little bit of a nice tidy border, and just finishes the card nicely. So there we have our panel for that. Now we don't have to stick all this down straight away, so I'm going to put the card base to one side because we're now going to work on the front. And I'll zoom in a little bit for you. There we go. That's better. You can see exactly where you're going now. And then we can start adding our layers. So again, as I did with the first one, I'm going to stick down that first layer flat. Just a little bit of glue. And then just drop that down right in the middle. So that glue gives you just that little bit of wiggle room to make sure you've got it right. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So now we can attach our first layer of pyramid. So I'll grab my foam pads, and again I'm going to put one in the middle and one at all 4 compass points. So I can get my fingernails underneath. Like so. And then just take the tops off those. Okay, so bring our main image back in, and then we can line this up. It makes it easier because you've actually got on the 4 compass points there on the actual circle, so you know exactly where to line it up. So you can line it exactly, and just pick that up with the top one. Yeah. Now if you want to, you can stop there. You don't have to add all of the layers, it's entirely up to you. So I'm now going to bring in my next one and do the same thing again. So the important one in the middle, you always want to make sure you get one in the middle. And then these foam pads are getting more difficult to get out. Very difficult. Not usually that bad. Okay. I think I must have a bad set. Right. And now we've got our image the right way on our card front. Bring that back in. We can then line that up with the points on the circle. Make sure, I'm just going to drop that down before I push it out. Yeah, that's better. And then just a little squeeze in the middle just to make sure it's stuck down. So our dimension is starting to build up. Let's try to take some of these from the other side. One in the middle. You don't have to use 4, you can use 3 if you want to. I'm going to use 3 on the last layer, so don't forget I've already gone around the edges with my pen on these. So because you've already seen me do it once, I didn't think you'd want to sit through it again. So let's line this one up. Now I'm probably going to have to get my head in shot for this one, so do apologise if I do. But it's one of those ones where you have to make sure you've got it pretty much lined up, spot on, because it will show. So excuse my head a second. There. Okay. And the last one, right in the middle, and then I'm just going to put it at 3 points. So 1, 2, oops, jumped, and 3. So bring them back in, and again try and line this up as best you can. Again, just excuse my head for a second while I line that image up. There we go. Give that squeeze in the middle, and there we have it. So we'll get rid of those. So we're now ready to attach this to the front of our card. So bring the card back in. I'm going to lay that down, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put some wet glue just on that bottom panel, like so. And this is going to give us a little bit of wiggle room to stick it down. And then I'm going to just lay that over the top, like so, and then lift it, and then just drop it down, and then align the front and the sides. So that way I know that's absolutely spot on. And then our card now tilts. Let me just zoom out a bit more so you can see that. There we go. We'll now tilt up perfectly. Show you the side view. There we go. So I'm just going to open that up, and we're going to attach our sentiment, which is going to go in there. So I'm just going to grab a foam pad and drop it into the middle, and put one at either end. Because this then becomes your catch mechanism. If you don't know what I mean, just if you've never made an easel card, you probably won't know what I'm talking about. But I've raised that sentiment up on foam pads, and I'm going to place that in the middle of that panel there, and just stick that down so that when, a piece of vellum, let's get out of the way, when we put the card up, it's going to act as a latch to stop it from sliding down, because if it wasn't there it would just collapse. So that then acts as a latch mechanism. And we're pretty much done. So all we have to do now is just flip that over, and then on the back part of the card you can then add your handmade by, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on there, just residue from the bottle. So I'm just going to stick that on the back like so. So a nice little touch, and then drop that down again, and this time instead of using the 4 little buttons, I'm going to add some pearls. So these are self-adhesive pearls. Now I've got some slightly off-white ones here. These are like an ivory colour. And I'm just going to add those pearls onto those little button effect things at the front. I'll just turn that round. Like so. There you go. And that is our card finished. Now again, if you wanted to, you could go in and add glossy accents onto some of the other elements. You could add glossy accents around the edges, you could add Wink of Stella if you want to, you could add a bit of glitter, but I'm just trying to show you what you can achieve just by using the CD and a little bit of stuff from your stash. You can create some beautiful cards that look like you've spent ages on them, but actually maybe only taking you a quarter of an hour, 20 minutes. There you go, that's how you make that one. So I just wanted to show you some of the vellum that I'd used from the pack. So just to show you, this is one of the backing papers printed on the vellum, just on a matte photo setting, so it's not gone too heavy with all the ink, but you've still got that beautiful pattern that you can see. You can even see the polka dots on there, and it is transparent, so you can actually see right the way through it. So let me just see if I can grab something to put behind it so you can see. There you go. So you can actually see that there is something behind it. So to make a wrap or an insert for a card, it's absolutely perfect. So that's that. That's another one that I printed out. It's got some little roses on. So it's real delicate. But as I was saying before, you can emboss it too. So that's also been embossed with an embossing folder. But on the CD, there are a couple of projects which are specifically put on there to use with the vellum. So I'm going to show you one of them now. So this is a stained glass window hanging. So you can see the size. It's about 8 inches, I think. Yep, it's about 8 inches. So 8 inches by 8 inches. So the panel is done with the vellum. Now I'll just grab one of those little electronic candles so you can see that glowing behind it. There you go, look at that. Now imagine that stuck to a window with the sunshine streaming through it. What a lovely addition to, you know, a little bit of decoration for a window or a conservatory or a small window that you have that you want to just add a little bit of interest to. And that's just by using the stained glass window kit on the CD. Now there are 5 different panels to choose from. This is just the lily one that I've chosen. So I'll show you how this is made. So these are the sheets that I've printed out for the stained glass window set. God, got my teeth in the wrong way around today. So, but what I've done is I've printed these off on a cream cardstock. Now it's only about 280 to 300 GSM, so it's just a standard cardstock that I've got in my stash. So you've got all of the instructions across the top. So all you have to do is to cut out the frame and then cut out the middle area. And I've gone ahead and printed the stained glass window panel onto an A4 sheet of the vellum. Now this is the same vellum that's included in your pack. So as you can see, this has just been printed out on a standard inkjet printer. Now I used a setting on my printer for matte photo paper, and it was just a standard print. I didn't do high or anything like that, or best. I just did it on standard, and I just set it to matte photo paper. Now, what I would do is I would print it, and then I would leave it just to dry for maybe like 10-15 minutes. Now, you can normally see it, that it's still wet. If you hold it up to the light, you'll see if there's any sheen left on the actual ink itself. You'll know then that it's still wet. But I would leave it to dry before you start working on it, because obviously you're going to smudge the ink if you do start working while it's still wet. So I've left that to dry for about 10-15 minutes, and as you can see, it's all nicely done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead now and just cut all this out, and then we'll just stick it together. Now again, it's a very, very simple process. All you need is just a ruler and a cutting knife, or you could even do it with a pair of scissors if you wanted to. So let's just strip that down. And again, this is meant to be a stained glass panel that you can stick onto a window as a bit of decoration. If you've got a conservatory, it would look lovely on the glass, you know, on your door or on one of the windows in your conservatory, or even just a small bedroom or something like that, just to add a little bit of interest. But if you wanted to, you could also punch. If you've got an eyelet setter or just a hole punch or something, you can put holes in the top part here and actually thread a ribbon through if you wanted to, and you could actually make it into a hanging. So you could actually hang it on your wall or somewhere like that, or give it as a gift, which I think people would be rather pleased to receive. So let's just make sure that I've got that right. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this now, but I'm only going to trim the straight lines with the ruler, then I'm going to cut those out by hand. I'm trying to cut on the inside of the black line. It's not 100% critical that you do that, but I just think if I'm adding a little bit more room to stick your vellum panel into, that little black line, it's just a couple of extra millimetres of grab for you to stick it down. So that's number 2. And number 3. Now I'm just keeping an eye on it as I'm cutting it down. I'm just doing not really high pressure strokes. I'm just doing 1 or 2 strokes with my cutting knife, a craft knife, but obviously the sharper your blade, the easier it would be. So you just have to stroke it. You don't have to put a lot of pressure on your blade. But normally you can feel when it goes through, because you'll feel the mat underneath it. So those are all my 4 slits that I've done. So I'm just going to go around now and just carefully cut on the inside of that curve. Now if you wanted to, you could use your scissors. It's not an issue. You do what you're comfortable with. There's the first one. And again, just very carefully. Number 2. And of course, there's nothing stopping you from going around the inside once you've cut it with one of those distress marker pens, which I will do just to cover any lines or bits that I've wavered on, because we all have shaky hand syndrome occasionally, depending on how much coffee we've had or tea we've drunk, or gin the night before. Okay, so there's my frame. So I'll put that to one side, and I'm just going to take my frayed burlap again, and this time, just very, very gently, I'm just going to run that around the edge, just to hide any unsightly lines or any bits that I may have accidentally wobbled on. Doesn't take too long, but it just adds a very nice sort of finishing touch. Just a couple of seconds of extra detail just adds that professional feel to what you've created. Because if nobody can see where you've cut, you'll think you're a marvel. There you go. That's all it is. So I'll just tidy that piece of card away and just straighten up my cutting mat as best I can. And then I'm going to bring in my vellum, just pop that frame to one side and do the same thing again. So bring out the knife and just gently cut around the frame or the panel, and obviously making sure that it's dry before you do this, because you don't want to smudge it while you're cutting it out. Like so. A couple of strokes just to go through, and that should do us. So I haven't gone right to the corners there, that's alright, because I can just tear that and remove that from the sheet. Put that to one side, and then I can just tidy up those corners. Actually, I don't really need to tidy those corners up, do I? Because I can leave those, they will be covered when we actually put that behind our frame. So let's bring our frame back in and lay that over the top of the lily. There you go. How's that? Perfect. So what you can do is turn it over, and then you can line that up on your card so you can actually see through the vellum, so you know where you're actually going to be sticking it down. So move that into the middle, and then if you want to, what I would do is just grab maybe some washi tape, and then just stick that so it's repositionable, because it will always peel off. And then line that bottom up best you can. And then just drop it down like that. And then you can turn it over to see how you are position wise. Ah, that's pretty much spot on, look. So, because we know that's going to work, you can then take out your double-sided tape or masking tape or any tape that you want to and stick that down. Now you can carry on, I think I will carry on with that washi tape, because I know with it being paper, I can just trim it then. But you can use whatever glue or medium you want to. I've lost the end now, look at that, that's typical of me, isn't it? So you've got it all stuck down, and then all you have to do is just turn it over, and then just using a pair of scissors you can just go back along and trim it off. There we go. So that's all four sides done, and then you've got one beautiful stained glass, missed a bit there, panel that you can add to a window. And when the light shines through that, now have I got one of those little candle things now? I don't know whether that'll work. You'll be able to see the light shining through it. Look at that. Imagine the sunshine shining through there. In a conservatory or a small window if you've got one, just if you want to add a little bit of decoration. But like I said, you could create a hang-in to actually hang on a window if you wanted to. So the last project for today is this lovely little paper lantern that you can create, which is also on the CD, and it has got a vellum insert. You can see there's a little candle in there. So you can't obviously see with the lights on, but I will show you what it looks like with the lights turned off at the end of the project when I've actually made it up for you. But beautiful little lantern holder that you can put on windowsill, or you can actually just add it to it as a table decoration. Now this is the basic one, because you could obviously decorate it up with gems and pearls and with a little bit of trim, with, you know, punch borders if you wanted to. But this is just the very, very basic one from the CD. So I just wanted to show you what it looked like. So how did we make it? Stay tuned. So this is the lantern kit. So this is your main lantern housing. These are all the instructions for you just down there. And there's a little photograph of it all made up and what it looks like in the dark. So very, very nice. So there you go. And this again is one of the vellum sheets that I've printed out, and I'm going to use the lily one to match the stained glass window one that we saw earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all these pieces out, and then I'll be right back and we'll put it all together. So I've gone ahead and cut out the shape of the lantern, and just with a ruler and an embossing tool, I've just gone over the lines on the sheet. You can see that actually are printed on the little lines indicating where to score and fold. So I've just gone round and scored and folded, and I've added on some high-tack red liner tape on the tabs, as you can see there. So all I'm going to do is to put that together in a little while. So this piece here is the bottom, it's the base. So literally it goes that way. So I've cut out my little lantern pieces as well, and you don't need to cut them right out, because you can just lay those over the top like so, and then just stick them down in the corners. Now that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to use some a little glue pen, and I'm just going to add a little bit of glue onto those tabs and just down the edges. Now this is one of those glues that if you leave it to go white, it's temporary, but if you do it while it's still blue, it's permanent. So, but what you can do is you can just drop that down and just line it up, adjust it so you're happy with it before it sets fully, like so. So that's my first one in. So I'll do the next one in exactly the same way, and you're good to go. There we go. Now you can leave that if you want to, just to make doubly sure, for a few minutes, but I'm not going to, because obviously we're operating on time constraints. So I'm just going to take off. Now I'll leave that one first. I'll do the bottom part here first. Now I'm not a great big fan of red liner tape because it never seems to work for me, but this new stuff that we have in seems to be quite easy to get the back off. Normally I battle for hours and hours and hours trying to get the back off, but this seems to work pretty easy. There we go. So all I'm going to do is just lift that up, fold that in, and then bring that around and just line that up with the base, and then just give it a bit of a push, and then we'll do the same at this one. Bring that round, hopefully you can see what I'm doing, line that up with the base and just give it a bit of a push. And then that leaves us just with that final piece, which I can tuck in once I've got the back off. It's where we start to battle with it. And the only reason I'm using red liner tape, because I always use red liner tape when I'm making boxes or that kind of thing. Anything that I want to make sure it stays solid and permanent. There you go. So I'll just tuck that under and then just line that edge up like so. There we go. Now, that's just the basic lantern. Now if you wanted to, you could then go ahead and decorate that. You could punch out a little decorative border and add it to the top and the bottom. You could add gems on there on each side, but that's just the basic lantern, just to show how quick and easy it is. And then hopefully, if I can drop that in there, you'll be able to see how that would work. Now, shall we see if we can turn the lights out, and then you'll be able to see it better. There you go, spooky, but not quite spooky, because you can see the light flickering behind there. So you can see actually that vellum works really, really well with that, doesn't it? How pretty is that? And having half a dozen of those dotted on your table, or even just temporary ones for outside in the summer, they just add that lovely, lovely look. Let's get the lights turned back on again. And as if by magic, there you go. So you can see that works really, really well.
Well, doesn't time fly?
Yeah, an hour is definitely not enough. It's
Nope.
surprising how much you can cram into 57 minutes or whatever it is. Okay, so that's all from us for today. From today, you can also watch any programmes that we're putting on the British Craft Network on our website and also on our YouTube channel. And we're also launching or uploading a brand new tutorial every weekend. So in between these hour-long programmes, every weekend you'll also get a quick make it video from me. So that's every Saturday. So pop along to our YouTube channel and subscribe to make sure that you don't miss out. But also, if you're in the Leeds area, don't forget we now have our shop, which is the Crafty Hands Arts and Crafts Emporium. So again, pop along to our website to get the address and then pop in and see us.
Come for a cup of tea?
Absolutely, the kettle's always on. So that's it for today.
Yep.
We'll see you again real soon.
Bye.
Bye.